Welcome back to Lamp Oil Stock, a Hebrew Israelite channel where we try and look at issues with a Hebrew Israelite point of view. We talk on different topics. So, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about Jeremiah 16, verses 19 and 20.
Uh huh.
Verse 19 says, O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Verse 20 Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods?
Uh huh.
Okay, so I want to talk about this verse because it says the Gentiles are going to come from everywhere and say, Surely our fathers have inherited lies.
Right.
So, my question is to the people who are listening, what are the lies that they have inherited? How do we decide what is lie and what is not lie? Because I hear people talking all the time, because I watch different people's videos, and I look at, well, I stopped looking at the news for the most part, but every now and then I still kind of skim through the news.
Right.
And it just seems like there's a whole bunch of lies everywhere you look. You know, I hear a lot of Israelites who talk about how we've been taught lies, right?
Right.
We're the real Israelites. Christ was a black man.
No, we're in the truth. Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
And then I will hear those same Israelites talk about how great it is that there was a news story where some black kid got a scholarship to Yale and Harvard,
Right.
and talk about how great it was that this child got this opportunity. And or they'll talk about how their children are getting good grades in school, or whatever. And I think if this Bible verse says, and Israelites believe, that we've been taught lies a whole bunch,
Right.
you know,
I mean,
then
our whole lives, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
then when do you decide that this stuff is good, and this stuff is a lie? When I think of a child that's gone to school, who scored so high on the ACT or in the SAT and gotten these scholarships into the best of the best so-called colleges in this country, I think this poor child has learned just a hell of a lot of lies.
Yeah.
And he is going to be making decisions based on those lies going into his future. So I feel sadness, not joy, that some liar will allow this child to go to their school.
Right. And see, that's the problem, or that's the issue. As an Israelite, and literally looking at the world backwards, that's kind of the mindset that you have to adopt. Is everything that the world says is good is probably bad. I mean, so going to college, spending, if you think about it, you spend 12 years in school, right? And then another, 4 years in college. So you're talking 16 years of your life.
Right.
Right.
And that's to start, unless you want to.
And then if you go on, I mean, you may spend even more of that.
Yeah.
But that is all indoctrination time.
Right.
Because in all reality, you can learn to read and write and math in about 300 hours. In about 400 hours, you're going to learn all the basics that you need to do those things. Now, it's important. I'm not talking about learning skills.
Right.
Okay. I'm not talking. Somebody learns how to build a house or something to that effect, or they learn to work on a car, or whatever their skill may have to be. Like we have kids that are into drawing and they're into all types of things. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you start looking at, say, college, you're 90% of the time
learning useful skills.
Yeah, 90% of the time you're just being indoctrinated. You're not actually learning the skill at all.
Right. And so, it's like you go to school, and just as an example, they teach you that the moon reflects the light of the sun. And the Bible says that the moon is a light. It says it's a lesser light, but that it is a light. And so, which one is true? Who do we believe? Which God do we really serve? You know, another thing that scientists teach you is they'll talk about carbon dating, and they'll find some pottery and they'll say it's 1,000,000 years old. But in the Bible, if you read from Adam and Eve to Christ, there's only about 6,000 years
Right.
in between that time. So how could you find pottery from a civilization that lived before man was put on this earth?
No, my favorite is
Or
when.
Go
No,
ahead.
my favorite is when they'll do carbon dating, or they'll do something and they'll say this is how old this thing is, right? And it'll be that for about 4 years.
Right.
And then somebody will come back and be like, no, we were way off. It's twice as old, or it's half as young, or whatever it happens to be.
You know, when I was a kid, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Now they lived like billions of years ago.
It just depends on who. It depends on who you ask, when, and what. You know, that's the issue. We're not teaching in school. They're not teaching facts. They're teaching the current theory that it happens to be. But the problem is the biggest point that it needs to be thought about is they're doing it. They're teaching things with a purpose to take you away from the Most High. That's the point. It doesn't matter what the subject is. If you go back and look at them, if you go back and look at each subject, you'll notice it is how man has discovered, did with, had whatever, how man served themselves.
Right.
It's not the Most High has done this, or the Most High has set this up. It's not about God. It is about man themselves.
And it doesn't matter what country you're in. All of them do that because they want the people to act a certain way.
Exactly.
If you believe something, you act according to that belief. So if they teach you lies, they know exactly how you're going to act, because you're going to act based on those lies.
Right. And if you'll notice, that's the thing. When you read the Bible, it calls his people peculiar. I mean, it specifically says they are his peculiar people. And the whole thought is that you're starting to view the world literally in reverse. You start looking at a lot of time spent in school as a waste of time.
Right. Much knowledge is vain. The much studying, I guess, is vain.
Exactly, where the thought becomes more of wisdom and not intelligence. It's not a focus on how many facts can I spit back at you. It is more of how can I live my life for the Most High.
Well,
and the things that go
if
along
I'm
with it.
learning lies, then it's of no profit.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how many people believe those lies. Spitting out lies only hurts me at
Right.
the end, because then I start to question God, right? So, as a Christian, when I was one, we used to say, well, yeah, God made the world in 6 days and he rested on the seventh, but nobody knows how long a day was.
Yeah.
So dinosaurs could have lived millions of years ago, and that was just like a day to God.
Right.
But God tells you that his day is 1,000 years, so that makes no sense at all.
Right.
Even if you go by that logic. But if you count, and then he gives you a genealogy of Adam, and he tells you how long he lived, and he gives you the genealogy of Noah and Abraham, so you can count those years up and figure out how long man has been on this earth. But since science says something else, or you're taught something else in school, you just come up with the reason that you can say both of them are true.
Right. Right.
So, in essence, you are making God a lie, because it's easier for you today to have a conversation with someone if you are spitting out the lies that you have been taught and that everyone has decided to agree on.
Exactly.
It's like with the sexuality thing. There's the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Hell, we're going to have to come up with new letters for what the hell they are. But they say that there is this thing. There's male, female, robot, you know.
Dolphin.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Dolphin.
And so now people are trying to learn this nonsense and teach it to other people as if it's real. And it's just crazy how everything that we are being taught, for the most part, goes against the Most High, and yet people who say they love Him and are following Him and are keeping His laws are spitting out a lot of that nonsense.
Well, see, the issue is this. It's that last line that you read just a moment ago. Shall man make gods unto himself? Okay?
Right.
So, what it seems to me is there is actual reality. A person is born one way or another. Now, I know some people don't agree with that, but whatever. And then there is man making gods of himself and saying, no, reality is whatever I feel like it
Whatever
is.
I choose it to.
Whatever I want it to be, it's this.
So,
and that's the problem. That's the point that we were making a moment ago. That is what school, as it seems to have been set up, that is what school is leading toward. Not necessarily that particular lifestyle. In some cases, yes. But the issue is the idea that you can choose your own reality for whatever the subject is. Whatever it doesn't matter.
Or if you can't prove it yourself, I can say it's true, and therefore you must believe it.
Right.
With no proof whatsoever.
No, wait a minute. I have to disagree with you. Do you have a white coat on? Then you're right. Because that's how science works. I have on a white coat. I'm right.
Well, okay, you're right. So I look at things that are going on today, right? And things that you see in the news. And I know that when it comes to the news, that there's a million different articles of things that could go out today. And they specifically pick and choose which articles they want to go out in order to entice people to think a certain way.
Right.
Or to get angry about something. So that they give a lot of partial and half truths. That's what Satan did to Eve when he said, "You won't surely die if you bite of this apple." And yet I hear a lot of Israelites, they'll talk about what's going on in the news, and they'll say stuff like, "Well, you need to read more about this if you don't believe it's this way, or you need to do more research because maybe it's not happening around you." And I think God said that He gives life and He takes it away.
Right.
God says that there are plagues and that His people, if they follow Him, don't have to worry about Him. Especially if you look at the story, He says that there are some diseases that His people don't ever have to worry about. And if
Plagues.
you look at the story of Egypt, right?
Right.
The oppressors, they were plagued with all types of things, but the Israelites didn't worry about those. They weren't suffering from those things.
Right.
And today I hear Israelites worried about stuff or sicknesses or illnesses that are going on out in the world as if it's a big deal.
Right.
I could die a zillion ways while sitting here in the comfort of my home doing nothing. Because if it's my time, the Most High is going to take me.
Right.
It doesn't need to be a sickness. My heart could just stop and I'd be done. So why do so many people seem to be worried when the news or someone tells them that there's some disease and Then they told them that they have a way of stopping this.
Hey, trust the science.
When did men become God?
Like I said, it's exactly that last verse that you just read. That is the whole point. Man does not, and I say man, but I mean people, does not want to face the possibility that the Most High is in control of their life, in control of the things that happen to them, and they'll have to answer for the things that they do. So if you say, well, let me give you an example. Let me put it this way. If I am doing something, and my knee begins to hurt, right? And my knee begins to hurt. You have a couple of ways you can look at this. You can say to yourself, well, my knee's hurting, I'm going to sit down here, and it's because I, played too much, ran too much when I was a kid, I did this, I did, you can look at it that, you can look at it how you did all these things to make that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can look at it and you say, okay, maybe the Most High needs me to just sit down for a few minutes. Maybe something going on I don't need to be a part of. I don't know what it is, but I need to take a moment and check myself, make sure my own act is together. I don't know why my knee is hurting. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have arthritis in your knee. That's not what I'm saying. But as an Israelite, everything is a moment for reflection, not just the thing that took place.
Right.
That is the issue. Everything should be a moment for reflection. We say, the example we use on a regular basis when talking to the kids, or I use, is, I went to the store, and when I got there was a parking space right out front. Right? So, in the first lane, there was a parking space right there. To me, since the Most High is in control of everything, it wasn't random. God made sure that happened because that's where I needed to be parked at that day, at that time. And it's happened where I've pulled into parking spaces, jumped out, and somebody needed help, or, I got into the store and then I was able to meet up with somebody and meet up with an Israelite that I would never have seen. None of it is an accident. But if you look at it as an accident, if you start looking at yourself as a God, then all of those, I'm going to call them coincidence, they all disappear and they become these just random acts.
It's just that, you will hear people use this Bible verse and say, well, they're talking about this particular thing, or they're talking about this particular thing, as far as the lies that have been inherited. I just disagree, because it's not one thing. It's not my father. They will say that their fathers have told them a lie. It says they have inherited lies. That means many,
right,
plural. And the question is, are we as Israelites going to keep accepting the lies that the world is putting out there and acting and reacting foolishly? Or are we going to start saying, God said this, and if someone says something different, they're a liar?
Right. I don't know where the verse is right offhand, but it says, let God be true and all men be a liar.
Yes, and every man be a liar.
And every man be a lie. That's what it is, yeah. Because that's the thing. The world is a stage. Or as we say to our kids, the world is an illusion.
Right.
And yes, people say all types of things, but it is no more real than what you see on television. At no point do the police officers from Law and Order actually arrest anybody. They're actors. And the vast majority of people wandering around are non-player characters. Who cares what they do, didn't do, or whatever? The stories that we get through the news or anywhere else could be complete fabrications.
I believe that everything that I do is God giving me an opportunity to get a blessing. So if I was at the store and someone was choking on something, and I did the Heimlich, and it pulled it out of their esophagus or whatever, and they were able to breathe. They might say, "Oh, you saved my life, thank you," and be like, "No, I didn't save your life. I did it because God gave me an opportunity to receive this blessing. But if I wasn't here, you wouldn't have died because it wasn't your time to go."
Somebody else would have done it. Somebody else would have done it.
Or you would have coughed it out on your own, because God chooses when everybody lives and dies.
Right.
Not me, not a doctor, not some stupid person saying that, they have the answers or they know. And we need to get back to believing and having trust and faith in our Creator, and telling all of these other people to go to hell.
Yep, absolutely. And see, that's the thing. That is the big thing. Bad things happen, and it's an opportunity for you to reflect, straighten your life out. Good blessings take place as well, and those are opportunities for you to go on to continue on the right path. It's a correcting process, a relationship with the Most High.
But you have to be willing to look at yourself and say, "I'm stupid. I've been taught these things. They are lies. Let me get back and figure out what God said, learn those things, and stick with it." That's all I got to say.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you all so very much for taking a few moments to listen to our rambling, non-rant conversation today. Leave us a comment, like,
Dislike,
or I don't know what else we got. Likes, dislikes, comments, whatever. Leave any of those type of things. Thank you so very much for taking a moment to listen to us. Do you have anything else?
Kwam Yasharala.
Bye.